Got that. Oh, okay, good. Well, Bob's here today to help me with my class. Thank you.
Oh,
Um,
well,
as always, Bob's pretty reliable, and you've got one more month almost with you. So, um, today is going to be part 2 of a class that I started. This is back in August, so it's a couple of months ago now. Um, we'll see what we can remember. And I don't know if you were here, which kind of works out.
yes, I not in this class. I not remember this
Okay,
class.
so where am I? I need this. Oh, looks like Ken's coming. He just shared the class on Facebook. Better late than never, and that's fine. Excuse me. My throat is still a bit sore. I think it's the air because it's been such a long time, but anyway, we'll be fine. So today we're going to be working with collocations, and look, there's Ken. Hi, Ken.
Yes, hello. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not so fine, but anyway, I tried. Yeah.
Oh, what's wrong?
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Okay. So,
Stuff. Okay. Busy. Okay. Not a problem. So today we're going to look at collocations. And Bob, since you weren't here, do you know what collocations are?
I think yes. This is like phrase.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I guess to me a phrase is technically 3 words, but I mean, sure. I mean, they're words that go together.
Example, ASAP, as soon as possible.
Sure.
Sure.
That's
Ah,
No, that's the other thing. We have a lot of different types of collocations, and so I'm sure that could be considered one. It's not one I don't think we're going to look at today. But yes, that whole phrase goes together. Okay. Ken, could you help us out and do you remember what collocations are?
I think it's a kind of proper combination of words.
Okay. Do you have any examples?
Maybe, for example, preposition. Look at, look into, look. Also, how can I say? Stay at the airport, at the station. Stay on the street. Stay in the street. I think these are all different meaning or.
You've been studying your prepositions, haven't you? Sure seems like it. Yes, I mean, sure, all of these are collocations. There's so many different collocations in English, it's ridiculous. So this is a very specific term for a very general topic, all right? So Ken, you might remember this. We went over collocations in August, okay? So a couple months ago, so we've had time to forget, basically, okay? So a collocation, it's when words go together, basically for no reason. And I'm only kind of kidding, but I'm not at the same time, okay? Collocations are very I don't want to say difficult, but I don't want to say easy. It's just like phrasal verbs, as you were describing, Ken, with look at, look up, look down, look in. It could be a verb and then a preposition, and it has to be that specific preposition. Otherwise, it's incorrect. But there's no rules for this, so that's what makes it really, really, really difficult. Okay. So let's see. Basically, what I'm saying here is that a collocation is when we use specific words together. They sound natural to native speakers, but are hard to learn for non-native speakers, as I said. If you don't use the correct words or phrases, it will sound strange. Like I said, it will sound strange to native speakers. Okay, so what we'll do very quickly is kind of review. I'm going to be honest, I do not remember where we stopped. So, like I said, a quick review. Let's just get started, okay? So the first example I have here is a verb and a preposition. Oh, depending on. Yes, this is a verb in this case. So depending on the weather, we might have a picnic tomorrow. So this underlined part here is what we're talking about, okay? How do we feel about this? Bob?
Depending on the weather.
Uh-huh.
Yes, picnic always depending on the weather.
It does, unfortunately.
Verb preposition.
Yep, so the verb in this case would be depending, and then preposition would be on. And again, you have to use the preposition on. You cannot use a different preposition, except if I go down a little bit here. Let's see. So, for example, if someone were to say, depending from the clouds, it's going to rain. Okay, that obviously sounds okay. We will obviously understand the sentence, but it isn't correct, okay? There are a few times, I don't think depending with the verb depend, and I don't think you can change this, okay? I'm trying to think of examples, but we'll wait to the end of this kind of section that I have here, okay? So let's think of different ways we can say this same sentence correctly. Now, this can happen that you're trying to say something correctly, and you're like, ooh, how do I say this? Well, you don't have to always say it in the same order as depending on the weather. So here I have some different examples. So Bob, do you think you could read these for us?
Yes. From by the clouds, it looks like it's going to rain. The sky is dark. It looks like it's going to rain. The sky is getting dark. It looks like it's going to rain. From the look of those clouds, it looks like it's going to rain.
Okay. So there's different ideas here. And that's basically, do you have any questions about the structure, about what's going on here?
First part of the sentences is different. The second is same.
Exactly.
Yes. Example is going to rain is second part. First part is sky is dark. Sky is getting dark.
So we have these different, we have the sky is dark or the sky is getting dark. Could you explain the differences?
I try.
Okay, yeah, that's all I want. Do your best.
Yes.
I'm the teacher, Bob. You don't have to know everything.
Yes. Sky is dark. This is present tense. Yes.
Present
sky, present simple. A sky is getting dark. Is getting dark. Like a little bit of future, like present future.
Okay, so you want to say the present continuous. Now we use the present continuous in a couple different ways.
Yes,
the present continuous. Yes, sorry. Okay, so the present simple is used in two different ways. It's used for in the moment. Okay, I'm talking right now in the moment. And it's also used for future. And we're using the sky is getting dark in the context of now. Okay?
Yes.
So in this moment, it's in the process of getting dark. And then when we say it looks like it's going to rain, we're using the be going to tense. Okay? We use that and sometimes the present continuous to explain something that's going to happen in the future. Okay?
Okay.
Questions?
No.
Ken? Any comments over there, Ken? Ken's like my grammar assistant.
No, thank you.
Any comments? Questions?
Yeah, maybe getting dark is a process. And dark is dark. Sky is dark is now in presence.
So
it's getting dark means process of getting dark. So getting dark.
I have one question, Becky.
All right. I'm nervous.
What is collocations here? What's the mean collocation in this text?
Okay, well, that's kind of a good question. Is dark, it's to be dark or to get dark. To be dark, to get dark. Now, this also happens with to be interesting, to be interested. Okay, these are verbs and actually adjectives that go together. Okay, you have to use the verb to be, and this happens a lot, and I can never remember the name of these. Oh, I just looked it up. It's somewhere hidden in one of my thousands of notebooks with notes in English. And it's something, it starts with a P, I think. Anyway, it's not technically important, but we always say I am happy, for example. So this is to be. Happy would be this kind of collocation of a verb plus an adjective. Okay?
Don't worry, be happy. Yes.
Exactly. You have to have the verb to be with happy. I mean,
yes. Don't worry, be happy.
Yes. All right, good question. So actually, let's move on. We have a lot to look at today, okay? And if we have time, we can always come back. So, hint, if you aren't comfortable using these types of collocations, there are always other ways to structure the sentence, okay? One thing that I've been doing lately in a class, which is actually quite interesting, this wonderful student of mine has just cannot, she's translating way too much, basically. So what I said is, okay, you write me a diary, write a normal, page of things that happened in your day, but in Spanish, obviously in Spanish. So she did that and she came to class and I said, okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take your complicated structures in Spanish and you're going to tell me the main idea of the sentence, the basic idea, as if, you were talking to a child. And sometimes that's the easiest she really wants to get to a high level, but it just, it's so difficult. And so that's what we did. And she's like, hey, that's pretty good. So this is the same idea. If you can't seem to say it in the way that you want, because let's be honest, we all translate literally from our own native language into a second or third or fourth language. Unless you're absolutely like bilingual or something like that. Those are the exceptions. So even for myself in Spanish, if I don't know how to say something grammatically correct in Spanish, I'll say it with an English structure base, okay? Even though it's not correct, you can still normally understand it 99% of the time, okay? So if you ever feel frustrated in one of those moments of, I can't speak English, don't worry. Just say it very simply, okay? That's my hint of the day, all right? So now we're going to look, I knew I was going to have this one. So now we're going to look at the adjective and a preposition. All right, so Ken, could you please read what we have on the screen here?
She's quite interested in studying literature. She's studying literature. He quit smoking. To be interested in, to be plus adjective, sad, happy.
Okay, good. So actually, these were from our notes from last time. So these technically aren't in this structure. But what I want to show here is that our base, as I've written in the notes as well in the Hangout, to be interested in. Again, we have to have to be interested. This is, again, our verb. This is a combination of collocations here. To be is a verb. Interested is an adjective in this case, and then we add the preposition in. We cannot do anything with. We can't use a different preposition. To be interested on. To be interested at. We just don't say that. Okay, and I don't remember the question that was here, but again, this is not originally. We're just going to delete that for today. Okay. Any questions with this? Do we have any other examples, maybe? No more.
Be surprised at.
I'm sorry?
Be surprised at.
Be surprised at. I'm surprised at. Okay, sure. Surprised. I'm trying to think. Yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
Different preposition instead of at in this phrase.
I'm literally trying to think about that. Surprised about. I was surprised. No, I was surprised to hear. I was surprised to hear. So again, we're using the verb to be, was surprised to hear. Now this would happen when we have, this is something different. It's similar, but it's different. This is when we have an adjective and then a verb after. When that verb is after an adjective like surprised, interested, with no preposition here, like we need with interested, then we use the infinitive. So, for example, I'm going to write this in the Google Hangout box. I was surprised to hear from you. Maybe I haven't heard from you in a long time. I'm so happy to see you. Okay. So these are different. These aren't necessarily prepositions in this case, even though to is a preposition. In this case, we're referring to the verb, the infinitive of the verb. So this would be kind of follow the verb pattern situation. Okay, but it's still structural. Like we're still dealing with structure today. So, all right. Lots of grammar here. I feel like I'm being tested after my time off in this summer. Well, in September, I think my brain has eaten all of my grammar knowledge. So, little by little, it's coming back out. All right. So, if we move down here, we'll see another one, and it's a noun plus a particular form of the verb. So, years to come, you will realize why I told you this. So years to come. Okay. So Bob, as you were saying before, there's phrases that we say, and this is kind of one of them.
Years to come.
Do you understand?
Yes, I understand, but I think I don't know this word before.
Well, that's perfect. So basically, if you were, any normal non-native speaker would say in a few years, in a few years is probably the easiest because we can say down the line, which also means in the future. Future. Okay. So years to come in a few years is probably what you would say. Okay. It's the most basic phrase. Now, years to come is one of these collocations that you would learn because you're exposed to it like today. So,
yes.
Welcome to a new phrase in your life.
Yes.
Let's see if there's some examples down here. All right, Bob, why don't you read this?
Yes, of course. Years to come, there is an ongoing dispute that idioms or common phrases are or aren't collocations.
Very good.
Yes.
So they say, there's a lot of differences. Like I was saying before in the Google Hangout chat box, I was surprised to hear from you. I'm so happy to see you. Like I said, the word to in this sentence is not technically a preposition. Okay? People might think it is. It's technically not. It's the infinitive of the verb. So people might interpret this a little different. They might say, like Ken said, oh, well, it's just a different preposition. Not that you said this, Ken, but, we were looking for different prepositions to use with surprised. People might argue that this is a preposition, in this case, the to, but it's not. Okay? So it's so complicated. English is not a bad language to learn or not difficult necessarily to get to an intermediate stage. If you want to really, really, really have a high level, then life gets really complicated. So
I agreed with you. Yes, of course. Yes, I know.
Yes, you do. And I know for Spanish too. So I have the same kind of idea, but for a different language. So Ken, why don't you read the other examples and we can talk about these too?
Okay, examples. As far as I'm concerned, not in your life, kick the bucket, under the weather, if you've got the music, etc. Have you got the time?
Are you listening to music, Ken?
Yes.
I think they called it a Freudian slip. It means that you were thinking of music, probably, even though time is written. That happens all the time. Okay, so now in the last class as well, someone, probably Ken, someone asked me, have you got the time versus if you've got the time? So again, have you got the time is something that's a little bit more common. Okay, we would normally see this, but if you've got the time is one of these idioms, phrases that we can use. Okay. So let's talk about these. Now, Ken, I know you know the majority of these, but let's talk to Bob. Bob, it's a test day for you. As far as I'm concerned, do you understand this? And if you do, how else could you say this with different words?
Can I use my translator? Oh no.
Not my favorite question, but,
No, but
do you understand concerned?
as far as I'm concerned, not quite really.
Perfect. That's okay. Ken, could you help us out here? As far as I'm concerned, how else could you say this?
As far as I think, as far as I'm, I don't know what can I say?
Yeah, no, it is quite challenging. So as far as I'm concerned, well, concerned, let's start with that word. Concerned means in between, like worried and just thinking about something, okay? So for example, I think it's a Hurricane Leslie is coming to Spain this weekend. And so I think it's on Sunday. We have a yellow alert right now. And so as far as I'm concerned about the weather on Sunday, okay? I'm not like, oh my gosh, it's going to be terrible. I'm just going to stay home. I'm not going to leave my house. But I'm more than just thinking about it. So concerned is a little bit, like I said, 50% of worried, 50% of something you're just thinking of. And so in this case, as far as I'm concerned, basically could mean, in my opinion, almost. In my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, what I think. Okay, so Ken's idea of think was good. As far as I know. I'm trying to think of something else. To my knowledge, that's what I'm trying to think of. To my knowledge. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Not in your life. Bob, any idea?
Like couple, not in your life.
Okay.
Like boy and girl. Not in your life.
Like never, right?
Like never, yes.
Okay. Exactly. Yeah, it just means no. I think that's fine. Kick the bucket. Bob, do you know this one?
No.
Ken does. I know he does.
Oh.
To die.
Yes. So when you're not alive anymore, a very, very, very informal way is kick the bucket. Okay, so you do have to be careful about this and to who you say it to. I remember when I was a child, it's kind of a funny story now. I was at my house, we were eating dinner, and my mom said she was going to leave. And I said, good riddance. And my dad was, what did you say? I said, good riddance. And he says, do you know what that means? And I said, it means goodbye. He said, no. Good riddance means that, like, you don't want to see that person again. And so it had been something I heard when I was, obviously a child. And then I used it, obviously incorrectly, because I still see my mom and I'm happy to see her. But it's funny now. So again, be careful with kick the bucket. It's not something you can, say, oh, I'm sorry your father kicked the bucket. It's very insensitive. All right, so be very careful. Under the weather. Bob, have you heard of this one?
Yes. Under the weather. Mm.
No idea?
Yes, I heard you can't explain.
That's okay. Let's ask Ken. I'm pretty sure Ken knows this.
Like sailors, we are on the ship. Have phrase under the weather usually.
Do you know why you would use it?
Like under the rough weather. Yes.
Okay, sure. You're in the right direction. Ken, let's help Bob out.
To me, sick, ill, sick.
Thank you. So yeah, Bob, if you're on the ship and someone doesn't look very good, you can say, "Oh, excuse me, are you under the weather? Would you like to go back to your cabin?"
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, so there's no accidents.
Excellent. Yes.
On the boat. Okay. So very good. Let's see. And if you've got the time is the same as have you got the time. So as I said, we're a little bit short on time today, so I'd like to continue with the next ones here, okay? So here are some of different types of lexical collocations with examples. So lexical is a very specific word which means linguistics or relating to words, all right? Not super important, but the examples are the most important here, okay? So Ken, could you read what we have here?
Sorry?
Could you read the example?
That was an utterly stupid thing to do.
Okay, so here utterly is the adverb. It has an ly, so it represents an adverb. And then we have an adjective, stupid. Ken, could you explain, do you remember why we use utterly in this case?
Utterly. Maybe it means very stupid, right? Very.
Extremely, yes. So again, be careful who you say this to.
Yes.
But the issue or situation here is that we have gradable and non-gradable adjectives. Now, it's more advanced. You don't necessarily need to know what those are right now. But what I will say is that we have specific adverbs. Like I said, extremely stupid, absolutely stupid. Those are okay. Those are adverbs that are okay to use with this specific adjective, okay? For example, you wouldn't say, that was a greatly stupid thing to do or something. Like I said, there are very specific adverbs that you use with specific adjectives, and this is why it's called a collocation.
Yes, understand. Yes.
Okay, all right, good. Let's continue. I feel like this is super difficult today.
This is
yes?
right exactly word for extremely stupid. Because the name collocation.
Exactly.
Yes, understand.
Yes. Wow, Bob, thank you for summarizing today's class. That's great. Do you want to read the next example, Bob?
Yes. He was in
excruciating
pain after the accident.
Okay, so what could you determine from this sentence? Was he in a lot of pain or a little pain?
He was in big pain.
Yes, a lot of pain.
A lot of pain.
Exactly. So, for example, big pain is something that we cannot use because big is an adjective, pain, but we don't use it. And see, this is a great example. Thank you for saying this. We don't use that exact adjective with pain. So there's a certain amount of adjectives that we can use with pain. Does that make sense? Excruciating is like an enormous amount of pain. Okay.
I understand.
English
Yes.
is very complicated. All right. Ken, what about this example with noun and a noun?
Okay. Do you sell handmade bars of soap?
Okay. So here we have two nouns, bars and soap. Okay. Normally I'm going to say that we have the word of in here, but not. I'm trying to think. I don't want to say always. I don't want to say never. We're going to say normally, if not always, you use of. Okay. All right. So another type of collocation. What about this one? I'll read this. It's quite short. A noun and a verb. The plane landed safely. So this is a collocation because we don't use another specific verb. We don't use another verb with plane when it's coming down to the ground. Now, I can use come down because you understand what that means. Because the other one would be the plane takes off or took off safely, for example. That means it goes up in the air. So to describe landed, sure, we can use other words. But for this sentence, the plane landed safely, there's no other verb that we can use. Ken, do you have any comments about that? You do have some background with English, so.
No, maybe no other word for this. Landed is the only word.
Mm-hmm. Plane landed safely. Yeah, it has to be landed. There's no other verb that we can use. That's why it's a collocation. Next.
Yes. Next.
English. Let's move this down. Oops. Let's go like this for now. Ken, could you read this one? This one's a little bit longer. You've had some short ones today.
I asked him to do the laundry while I clean the kitchen.
All right, so here we have a verb and a noun. You'll recognize some of these in a little bit, okay, or not. So we use do with laundry. Now, a lot of this, this topic gets difficult with the two specific verbs of do and make, okay, in the fact of household chores, things that you have to do at home is do the laundry, do the dishes, make the bed, okay? We do use specific verbs for things in the house, just like clean the kitchen. So you don't wash up the kitchen, you don't, I don't know what other verb, nothing's coming to my mind. Clean, wash, what other word? Wipe the kitchen, not really. Let's go down and discover some other phrases, okay? So we've wiped down the kitchen. Wipe alone, no, but wipe down, yes. This is so difficult for me. Okay, you take your hand, you have a cloth in your hand, and you wipe down as you clean all of the surfaces of the kitchen. Okay, we can fold the laundry or we can hang up the laundry. And you hang up clothes on hangers. Okay, more vocabulary in the house today. All right, fold the laundry. But first you do the laundry. Then it depends if you hang up the laundry to dry or you dry the clothes. Then you fold the laundry. It's very specific. It's really confusing. I'm starting to feel terrible for both of you today. All right, Bob, let's go ahead and read this one, please.
Okay. He had run out of time and lost the competition. This means he lost the time and lost the competition, lost the game.
Right. There was no more time in the game, or the competition, I'm sorry. And so he couldn't continue to try and win, basically. So he ran out of time. Okay. And then I think lost a competition is another type of collocation where you win the competition or lose the competition, but it's not this type of collocation. That's why I didn't underline it. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Now, oops, that was okay. So she whispered a secret softly into her mother's ear. Okay, so a verb and then, excuse me, an adverb. Again, adverbs have ly at the end. So she whispered softly. I guess you can't really whisper loudly because then you would just be talking normally. So again, specific adverbs with specific verbs. Now, I want to talk about into. I guess you don't know what I want to ask about into. In versus into. Do you have any idea what the differences are?
I think into shows, express direction into.
All right.
Into the ear. I think that's different.
Yes. Okay. Could you give me an example of in and into, basically in the same sentence? I mean, if possible. Otherwise, I have an example in my head.
Okay. How can I say? I'm in the building. I'm going into the building.
Thank you. So, what are the differences here? We need periods at the end of these sentences to make them correct. Actually, let's ask Bob. Bob, this is like a B2 test for you today, okay? This is really, really high. So I'm in the building versus I'm going into the building. What are the differences here?
Differences. I'm in the building. This means I not. This is not action. I am in the building now, in the class of Intenga, on my flat, in my home, and difference. I'm going into the building. This means this time it's happened action, and you going to the building. You walking. You walking into the building.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
So good. So this again, kind of, if you think about our first conversation, but from before, when we were talking about the difference between it's dark, it is dark, or it's getting dark. Okay.
Yes.
This is called the state. Okay. Just like when I say I'm happy, that's my state. That's how I feel. Okay.
Yes.
When I'm in, I'm not, I can be moving, I suppose. That's not really the issue. The situation is that what you're focusing on is that you're inside the building, okay? And then I'm going into the building is that you're physically walking from the outside of the building through the door into the inside, okay?
Yes. Okay.
Now, I had someone tell me the other day, I'm walking. Yeah, no, this one was a little confusing. I'm walking in the kitchen. Oops. I'm walking into the kitchen. So we have the same idea here as I'm walking in the kitchen. Okay, I'm physically in the kitchen. I'm in the space of the kitchen. I'm not leaving the kitchen. Okay, even though we're talking about movement here. Okay, so this is quite complicated. Okay, there's really the only difference in these two sentences is this preposition or this to, okay? So I'm walking in the kitchen, I'm staying within the kitchen, I'm walking into the kitchen is that I started outside of the kitchen and then I walked inside the kitchen.
Clear.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, well then, any questions or doubts from either of you? Ken, no. Anything over there?
So what is the first sentence? I'm walking in the kitchen. What does this mean?
Maybe you're just walking in circles in the kitchen.
Okay.
That's basically it. Okay, that's it, yeah. So, that's it, yeah. There's nothing special there. Okay. And as I said before, gradable and non-gradable adjectives, they're used for different levels of intensity. Okay, so I just wanted to look at these. And so I'll read these. I'm angry. I'm a little angry. I'm very angry. I'm quite angry. I'm extremely angry. I'm incredibly angry. So all of these, and this color would be maroon to me. People might say it's red, but it's a little bit different than red. Ken, why don't you explain what this is doing, what these are doing here?
Maybe I think kind of the intensity of angry.
Okay, and so what's the difference? I mean, from I'm a little angry to I'm incredibly angry.
Little angry is just a little bit, but incredibly angry is very, how can I say? Yeah, very angry, extremely, more than extremely, probably.
Yes. All right, good. Yes, that's true.
5 times angry.
5 times angrier than, yeah. Actually, you're kind of right. Than just angry, yes. We have different levels of being angry, and absolutely, this is a lot angrier than just I'm angry. Okay?
Yes.
Okay,
But
well, with that...
I never heard, I know 3 degrees are angry, a little, a very, and quite. But extremely and incredible, I really don't know for this word.
Well, now you do. I'm incredibly happy today. I'm extremely happy. So you can use these obviously with other adjectives too. That is not a problem. Okay.
Okay.
So other collocations that we could use that are common, where do I begin? There's so many. Like when we say focus, okay, so if I want to use a preposition after focus, what do I have to use?
On.
Yes.
Or,
So focus on.
In, maybe on or in. I don't know.
Nope, it's only on.
Okay, only on.
Yep, in would be incorrect. Okay, what about think? Think. What would be next?
I think there are 2.
Okay. Which ones are they?
Okay. Think about. I forgot another one. Think of. Sorry.
There you go. Exactly. Okay. Excuse me. Air went down the wrong side. Okay. I'm okay. So think of or think about. Do you have any idea on what the difference is? Is there a difference?
Yes.
Do you have an answer, Bob?
Think of means you stop the thinking. You're not thinking. Think of.
Okay, well, it means that you know of something. Okay, so think of a time when you hurt yourself when you were a child. Excuse me. So when you say think of, there's obviously a moment that you can remember in the past. You know of something, okay? Think about is more like, hey, think about a present for your sister. Okay, it's not something that you have experience with. I mean, you do, but it's not an already finished situation. So, for example, oh yeah, it's my sister's birthday this weekend. I have to think about a present to give to her. So it's something that you have to do kind of in the future. Does that make sense? No? Let me write these sentences. So think of a time when you broke a bone, for example, okay? You already have a past action, something, a memory of this, okay? You say, think about a gift for your sister, okay? We don't, I mean, it's not her birthday this time, this year yet. Oops. So this would be more future, okay? So like not a past.
I see.
Oops. Okay. So now the only thing in English is that I just want to get these on the same page. One moment. The problem here is that native speakers are going to use these interchangeably when technically they're not supposed to be. So that's okay. So I just want you to be aware of that you might hear this and it might be used incorrectly, but technically there is a difference. Okay. So even though there are collocations and you have two options, they kind of can mean something different. And this class gets deeper and deeper into the actual language. I think we'll stop here for today. I think we've had enough.
Good idea.
Yeah, grammar. Maybe I hope you don't have a headache right now or anything. But before we go, let's talk about my next class. Let's see.
I wait next class, London. I like this lesson.
Good. Well, next class is going to be a little bit easier. Actually, next week should be a little bit easy because Monday and Wednesday, instead of doing part 2 so far away from part 1, I've decided to do part 1 and part 2 next week. So next week will be a reading week. And we're going to read a text about London, about traveling. Okay. So we'll look at some vocabulary. We'll look at the structure of the sentences, see if we can find any collocations if they're there, etc., etc. Okay. So next week will be easy. Okay.
Difference is very informative for me. So thank you.
Good. I'm glad because I know for some it's extremely difficult. I know I don't speak perfect all the time either. It happens because I'm a native speaker, but literally there are ways to say things in English and all it is structure. And then obviously you have to remember how to say it. So that's the situation, but good. I'm really thank you, Ken. Sometimes you finish classes and you're like, oh no, they're going to hate me. They're not going to come back. So good. Well, I'm very glad it was good for you, Bob. I'm sure you've learned something today.
Yes, of course. Very useful.
Plethora of information. Yes. Very good. Well, I hope both of you have a great day, and hopefully we'll see you on Monday, okay?
Okay,
yes, of course, Becky.
All right, thanks. All right, bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.